The days of Rolex flippers are over, as in done, or so it seems. The latest news on the block is that Rolex has had enough of flipping, and they have finally done something more effective than their previous strategies. But how devastating has this new move really been on flippers? Rolex has made a new policy that states no consumer can purchase more than 3 Rolex watches annually. While this may be good news for watch enthusiasts, it is bad for flippers. And there has been a ton of activity going on in the watch market. It appears the watch market has taken a hit since the announcement from Rolex, and flippers are not pleased. In this video, we share details about the recent turbulence in the watch market. Flippers are being burned left, right, and center, and we know why. The days of Rolex flippers are over, as in after prices went up and then down earlier this year. There are more signs that the market for used luxury watches is getting back on its feet. An index of Rolex resale prices at Watch Charts, a consulting firm, fell by 1.84% from the previous month to the beginning of September 2022. This was a slower drop than the summer when prices fell by at least twice as much. The Subdial 50 index, which tracks the prices of the 50 most traded luxury watches, went up by 1.2% in the 30 days leading up to September 7th. This suggests that prices for the world's most popular luxury watch references have reached their lowest point. The index keeps track of references for watches like the Rolex Daytona and Datejust, as well as the Patek Philippe Nautilus and the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. And we've got to tell you, this year has been a wild ride for high-end watches, especially on the secondary market, which, by the way, is closely watched. Even though prices vary a lot in the market, some of the most popular models' values dropped in the late spring after reaching their highest point in March or April, depending on which models are tracked. Some people thought the drop was due to a drop in the price of cryptocurrencies, but others thought it was because dealers were trying to get rid of their extra stock. Some people called what happened early this year a bling boom, which was caused by gains in other asset classes, stimulus money, and speculation. New buyers were looking for other ways to invest their money. Prices went up because there was a lot of demand for the most popular used watches. The Watch Charts Rolex Index went up by 35% in March compared to the same month the year before. There was almost a feeling of euphoria in the market. Then the fall came. The Watch Charts Rolex Index fell by 5.9% in June, which was the biggest drop from one month to the next. It then fell by 3.5% in July and 5.1% in August. Flippers and day traders who'd been told you couldn't lose money in watches came with little underlying passion and found themselves burnt when prices began to fall, Subdial said. Now, if you are new to the watch market, you might not understand the concept of flipping and why Rolex and other luxury brands are against it. The concept of flipping is rather a complex subject, especially now when there are waiting lists for many Rolex watches and it's hard, if not impossible, to get a hot new model. Some of the most popular Rolex watches have waiting lists that last for years or even decades. Rolex and the AD find it very controversial that some customers sell the watch as soon as they get it. Now here's the thing. In recent times, Rolex and Rolex-approved retailers are doing different things to stop this menace. As we mentioned, Rolex's recently implemented strategy is the restriction placed on consumer purchases. But many consumers believe that ADs are just as guilty as flippers for flipping prices. Now, the word flipping can mean a lot of different things, but in this case, it mostly means when someone sells their Rolex watch soon after buying it from an official Rolex store. Past few years, this has become increasingly and annoyingly common, so we really can't blame Rolex for their new rule. This is because the prices for many Rolexes on the secondhand market are higher than the suggested retail price. So if you can buy a new or popular model from a store at the retail price, you can turn around and sell it for a profit as soon as you walk out the door. Some very popular models can be sold for up to 100% more than their original price, and sometimes even more. Crazy, right? But flipping does not refer to people who buy a Rolex, keep it for a few years, and then decide to sell it when they want something new. No, we're talking about quick sellers. This quick selling is the main thing that worries Rolex and retailers. It's also a worry for true enthusiasts who want to buy their dream watch and wear it for many years. When flippers buy a watch, they take that opportunity away from real collectors and watch enthusiasts. It's important to know that most Rolex watches are not sold directly to professional dealers or resellers. Instead, it is given to regular people, and some of them are just looking for a quick way to make money. When you think about how quickly some Rolex watches can make you money, it's easy to see the money incentive behind all this. Rolex has always made it clear that it wants its watches to be sold directly to customers, not to people who resell them. But, contrary to what many people think, most flippers are just regular customers who see a deal and take it. They may also be real watch lovers, but if they have the chance to buy a watch they don't really like, they may do so because they can make money from it. Most of the time, they may keep the watches they buy. It is much harder for a Rolex store to find private flippers who sell watches to professional dealers than it is for wholesaler professional dealers to find private flippers. The point is that there are many different flippers, but most of them are not professional dealers, and contrary to what most people think, most Rolex retailers do not sell Rolex watches in bulk to them. This may have been the case in the past, when selling a Rolex watch was much harder, and all watches sold for less than the recommended retail price on the secondhand market. Flippers are obviously a problem for Rolex. They make the process longer for regular customers to get their dream watch, and they also make it harder to find used watches, in turn driving up the prices. At the same time, it's easy to see why people want to flip a watch when they have the chance to buy one. The problem is, as was already said, that it's much harder for Rolex to figure out who the flippers are when the watches are sold to private customers who then sell them on. The retailer agreement says that Rolex can ask to look at a retailer's financial records. When a Rolex store sells a lot of watches to a professional dealer, they can tell and take action against the store. But since Rolex watches have become more popular, Rolex stores no longer need to do this to move their stock. The problem they have now is that there are so many people who want Rolex watches, but there aren't enough to go around. But Rolex can't do this when a flipper, a private person who decides to flip their watch, is in the picture. However, as we hinted before, many are of the opinion that flippers are not the main problem here. So we'd love to see how effective this policy proves to be. With the fluctuation in market prices recently and the price correction, we may not see much flipping going around these days. Will this be the end of the flippers? The truth is, only time will tell. The one thing we are sure of is that this recent market correction is definitely a big blow to flippers, and they may be on the decline. Or what do you think?